That's talking about May the 8th.
Yeah, right. May the 8th.
Because I did what you weren't supposed to do, and I went outside because we were watching, and we could tell that what was coming was going to come between where I live and where he lives. We live about 3.5, 4 miles apart.
Yeah, probably as the crow flies.
Possibly.
Yeah.
So, of course, I went outside to go and look like you're not supposed to.
Yeah.
And
I did too.
I may or may not have done that as well.
Yeah.
I was like, hold on, everybody. Yeah, don't do this. Y'all need to be taking shelter right now, but I'm a professional. So I'm going to go outside real quick.
I have an excuse.
Don't do it. Yeah.
But I can
do as I say, not as I do.
Low-level rotation beginning to form. And I called him and I said, I've got some low-level rotation.
Yeah, so I do too.
You're seeing it visually, visibly.
And it was raining so hard you couldn't see like the cloud base, the area of like where there would have been like a wall cloud or a funnel cloud there at the bottom, but it was rotating kind of so broadly, and so you could just see the things that you couldn't see through moving, and I was like,
From the business capital of the world, the Big Apple, New York, Middle Tennessee, it says here. Sounds riveting.
All right.
This is the Mostly Middle Tennessee Business Podcast, a podcast about Middle Tennessee business owners and professionals.
Mostly. That's right. Thank you, Mr. Matt Wilson from the Mostly Marketing Podcast. I borrowed a portion of his name for the rebranding of this podcast. Go check him out at mostlymarketing.com, I want to say, or look him up, Mostly Marketing with Matt Wilson. This is the Mostly Middle Tennessee Business Podcast, where we talk to Middle Tennessee business owners, entrepreneurs, and professionals. We have real conversations that meander. They go off topic. They pretty much go anywhere. But eventually we talk about, the crux of things, being challenges in business, successes, the day that you wanted to walk away, whatever kind of comes up. This is a video and audio podcast. Check us out at MMTBP.com. You could also apply to be on the podcast at that website. Share it out. If it's of value to you, we'd really appreciate it. Give us a 5-star rating on your preferred platform. That would be wonderful. I am your host, Jim McCarthy, with JimMcCarthyVoiceovers.com and It'sYourShow.co, where we create podcasts just like this. From as little as you need us to as much as you need us. You want to start a podcast? Let's talk. And today, we've got 2 special guests out of Columbia, Muletown, who came to significant prominence recently. May 8th, if you've been in the area here, we had some pretty severe storms. One that spun up a tornado that was pretty devastating. I want to say it was an F3 tornado. And we were just discussing before we came on the podcast that, thankfully, and even it's a kind of a dreadful, thankfully, that there was only one fatality, but this thing was just a monster. And the timing of it was fortunate, I guess, because there was a lot of people that were on their way home. It was, late evening rush hour. And please welcome today, we're going to be talking to the 2 people that run what is a growing Facebook page, The Weather Down in Muletown. We have Cap'n, and Boppy. Thanks for being on.
Yeah, you bet.
And driving all the way up here to the house on the hill that changes colors. That is the J2 HQ.
That's right.
Yeah,
it's beautiful.
It is.
So yeah, I mean, a couple of weeks ago, it was pretty tumultuous. I believe Cap'n, can I call you Adam?
Yeah, if you're talking at me, and looking at me, your mouth's moving, I'll listen.
Okay,
and I'll answer. Being in law enforcement and public service, I've been called worse.
Right,
so,
right.
Yeah.
And this is the first time we're meeting and finding out about each other. I didn't even know your name until now. But a lot of things that my business partner said, you need to get these guys on because their accuracy is stunning.
We appreciate that.
We had a cold snap several years ago. That in this very house, we had pipes burst in our attic. We came in after Christmas, and the whole place was flooded. It was not fun. And you kind of pinpointed that. You were very accurate about that, and snowstorms and other different weather events, which surprisingly enough, being the fact that we moved here in 2005 from Las Vegas, we had no idea how tornadic it was.
Yeah.
You never thought of Tennessee as being like, Tornado Alley.
This changed.
Yeah, it's definitely shifting. Yeah, over the last 20 years, there's a lot of there's some emerging data. It's kind of to back some of it up too with the science. It's part of it's we're living in a more connected world. There's more people on the internet. There's more people with, phones, computers right around in their pockets, cameras, to where, the tree doesn't so much fall alone in the woods anymore. There's always somebody there to see it. But, just with the data and, with the strength data as well, too, kind of correlated into that, we are seeing a little bit more eastward shift into what's called Dixie Alley.
Really?
Yes.
So, yeah, they are.
Is that going to be like the actual, they're calling it Dixie Alley?
Colloquially. Because, there is no tornado alley, quote unquote, that's got, some kind of defined line on a map. It's just historically been a long, thin area running kind of from north to south, across the Great Plains area where that nice, warm Gulf moisture comes up and meets that cold air coming from the Rockies, and all that kind of collides right there, Oklahoma, Panhandle, Texas, all the way up almost to the border of Canada. But it does seem like that things are beginning to shift slowly eastward since about probably the last 30 years or so, I think, has been...
So significantly within the last 10 years.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. When you think of, things like the April 2011 outbreak, which unthroned 1974 as the biggest outbreak of all time, when the Tuscaloosa tornado came through Alabama. Everybody always remembers that one, because it actually hit University of Alabama campus. It was a national story. Something like that hadn't happened in 40 years, just by the calendar, but by the way that things happen, not only just, with like your inflation adjusted prices for the damage and stuff, it just the actual physical damage and the intensity of the tornadoes had not happened like that.
Wow.
Ever.
Wow.
So, and we're talking, a couple of those, not to that same level event, but similar events have occurred since then.
Yeah.
So it's definitely something that's got the folks at NOAA and NWS and academia, NGOs all looking into things pretty closely.
So is Tornado Alley, you said there's definitely an eastward shift. So is that tapered off? In the typical states you find this?
It seems like it tapers off a little bit more sharply as you come east into like our area of the country. So that area kind of extends in Tornado Alley, the old school Tornado Alley from pretty much, the Canadian border almost to Texas, to the Mexican border, but in a thin kind of narrow strip.
Right.
As it extends east, it doesn't so much extend with the statistics, and everything into, say, like the Great Lakes region as it does like the deep south, say, Tennessee, Mississippi, Alabama, Missouri,
Arkansas.
right around in there. So it seems like it...
Kentucky.
Yeah.
I always thought it was like it was favorable because it was so flat.
It can be.
Yeah.
That's one of those things that borders on, and it is true, but it's one of those where it borders on, tornadoes can't jump hills.
Right.
Like those old legends, old wives' tales, myths, whatever you want to call them. It can be because obviously the wind, anytime it's got that much flat ground to deal with, it can spread out a lot. It can carry and kind of be a force multiplier within itself, just crossing that distance. The derecho system that came through in Texas recently comes to mind, and if. Derecho, essentially, if you don't, not familiar with the term, because
I remember that term.
Word, it's a horizontal tornado. So if you can imagine kind of a tornado rolling instead of being vertical, similar to what that is. And that does have a little bit of an impact out there with it being so flat in the topography, but it's mainly where they are kind of relative to what's going on meteorologically with that, cold polar air coming out of Canada, warm Gulf moisture coming up from the south towards Texas, and then some of those higher winds coming down from the upper elevations in the Rockies do, hit the ground and just kind of spread out, and go out towards the plains. And that drives a lot of the storm systems that we eventually end up seeing here in Dixie Alley.
See, by listening to him, I would have to imagine, are you even passioned about this?
Not at all.
The way you're talking
Not
about?
I mean, and it's got a good story
why
with it,
do you
too.
do this?
It's got a good backstory with it, too. So
talk about the relationship between you two and how, what's the relationship here?
I'm the mom.
Okay.
He's the son.
Right.
What I say goes. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. He's the brains of the operation, and I'm more of the PR. And
she told me the other day, she's like, "Hey, I need to call you for a second." I was like, "You can call me anytime you want." I was like, "You birthed me. That's like the privileges of, you call, I have to answer. It's the law.
It's birthright.
It's birthright." So she helped get me into it. She's definitely the one that's helped fan the flames. I had a really good third grade science teacher named Belinda Moss. Yeah, I want to make sure I got the first name right. It's been a while. Was in the 90s, so it was just getting, kind of technology going. We had what we called the 21st century classroom, where it was full of old, or the IBM think stations. It was a one-piece computer.
So cutting edge.
Oh, yeah. Full of those.
Dot matrix printers in the background, everything.
Yes, dial-up modem connected to like a scientific, old school, like Scientific Atlanta, or it was an old one. It may not have been even an Atlanta one. Weather station with a 56K modem connected to it, and 3 or 4 times a day, Channel 4 would dial into it. And when you saw the temperature in the webcam that popped up from Columbia, that was where it was coming from. J.R. Baker Elementary School, my 3rd grade class.
That's crazy. Wow.
Yeah, that was in 96, 3rd grade. Yeah, 96, 3rd grade. So 97, still just kind of being a weather nerd.
That's when he went to his first actual storm chasing class.
Right around the time.
Age 10.
Yeah, I went and was 10 and kind of was just soaking all this up too. Just, again, being just weather nerdery. And
wanted to see how interested he was actually going to be.
Right.
Yeah.
And
he was all in.
Yeah, just sucked in. Yeah. And then right around the same time, April 98 is when the tornado hit Nashville.
Right,
same kind of...
Downtown.
Yeah.
Downtown
Another
Nashville,
myth.
Yeah.
Tornadoes don't hit downtown areas.
Oh, yeah, they do.
They know that that's not...
Yeah.
That's a myth.
Yeah, for sure. And and it's been proven a couple of times since then, because I want to say right after that, OKC... Oklahoma City, Oklahoma got hit in 99, I think, or something like that. So it was right after that.
In Baltimore, Maryland, downtown was hit yesterday.
Last night?
Yesterday.
Oh, really?
Yeah, just to the north,
tornadoes.
I believe.
I remember Miami got hit, and then Pensacola got hit. Was it Pensacola? Or Panama City, I think.
It was Pensacola.
They've both been on the list a couple of times there.
Well, they're so close together.
Yeah, but I mean, you got high rise. I mean, it's flat. But I think there were water spouts. But there was a famous video of a water spout, on the actual canals around Miami. That was hitting them. That was crazy to watch.
It's crazy to watch.
I've never seen anything like that.
I think the 1998 tornado that came through downtown Nashville, well, of course, it started back in West Tennessee. That's when I think we realized that there was a need, and this was something that we could do that would help our community.
Yeah.
Like I said, again, we are not professional meteorologists.
And that's you did say that. You kind of like prefaced this conversation, just letting you know.
Throw that out there, yeah.
But here's the thing: is that you got a talent, you got a passion for it. I mean, you mentioned law enforcement. Is that what you went into? Is that your day job?
Both of us at a time. So my stepdad was a police officer. Mom here, is retired now. Mom here was an administrative assistant at the police department, at the criminal investigations, at the Columbia Fire Department. So whole family.
Maury County 911.
Yeah,
give them a plug too.
Yeah, we both worked. Yeah, Maury County 911.
You got a voice for 911. I can hear it.
Oh well, thank you.
It's the calm part,
right?
Even as a kid, even when she was mad, she was calm and it was scary.
Yes.
So
I'd be a bad 911 operator. What do you want? What's going on? Tell me. Come on, out.
What do you mean you don't know where you are?
The New York would come out of me. Come on, out with it. Come on.
Yes.
Compose
you would
yourself.
be surprised at how many people actually have no clue where they are.
Zero.
Oh yeah, when they were
You will also be surprised at how many people cannot locate the county that they live in on a map of the state of Tennessee.
I'm guilty of not knowing what district I'm in.
But that's for
political.
Right. Yeah, I mean, you can look that up in 2 minutes.
Right.
You go on the website,
I know I'm in Williamson County.
Yeah. Right, yeah. You pull
I know
your
county
voter's card.
dividing lines.
Right, they just changed mine. I don't know what district I'm in anymore either.
Right.
At one point I did, but they change it every 8 years, so who knows.
And our local NWS office, which is in Old Hickory, Tennessee, technically.
Which is great.
Just east of Nashville. They started a new thing here not too long ago called Where You At Wednesdays.
Yes,
and they
love
specifically addressed knowing what county that you live in.
Every county in the state.
Because there's so many of them.
Yeah, they put us, I think 96, they put a slide up for every county, and it's like, this is your county, these are all the main cities. If we say things like, for us, along and west of I-65, areas south and below of I-40, we're talking about you, Maury County. If we say, hey, Lewis County, that's right to our west, so the storm's moving east, it's coming this way. and just things to kind of just break it down. Because I know a lot of people are new, but I mean, I had no idea that really there were so many adults that could not map.
It's funny, and even when you're in a city like, I lived in Las Vegas for 4 years, and it's set up like a grid. Which is the most sensible way, I believe. But even because at the time I worked for a news talk station, so we were doing traffic and weather together on the 10s, I want to say. And, that was a coin term that we put out there. I'm like, every time they name cross streets, I have to think, okay, where is that? I know that's like on the east side or west side. Is it northeast? Is it southwest? And I would always have to try and think about it. Maybe it was just me that I just couldn't immediately make the connection. But I brought up an idea to the programming staff, and I said, why don't we call it quadrant traffic? Like, quadrant 1, which is the northwest side of town, and let's do it clockwise. Right. Yeah, they didn't do that. So.
Yeah, and that's
I have a lot of good ideas. Trouble is, most of them suck. So.
Right? Yeah. If I think they're good ideas, they're automatically good ideas. Right. And that's what I'll tell folks too. Right before like the May 8th event or something. If we're expecting some things like we had kind of been, that day, watching it, for 4 or 5 days out from when it happened. Yeah. I'll go in and let them know. Like, hey, y'all, I try to answer questions and stuff like that. When there's nothing going on, I try to just be over engaged. That way, y'all know, hey, I promise I'm not, trying to be a cold shoulder ugly, but when things get really busy, we're really, really busy. There's 2 of us, sometimes 3 of us that are going on and, talking to y'all, looking at thousands of comments and pictures and trying to, run a TV studio off of, 1 monitor, stare at 4 monitors worth of information and do a lot of things. And I'll say, I'm going to speak generally. So, if I say Southern Middle Tennessee, this storm that's coming through is looking like it's kind of going to go right through these counties. If you know that Lawrenceburg, is right in the middle of Lawrence County, know that I'm talking about you when I'm talking about this, or if I say something like that, and just try to give people some refreshers on just the basics of, if we say this means this, or something like that, and we try to avoid, is it times we do have, some people that, I don't know the right way to put that. And I'll just say it sometimes, this info is more for the learned, I guess, and put something on there that's not so much translated from the science speak. Just because there are some folks on there that, that will take the information in that manner. And there's some folks, that want it broken down too. And I try to do as much of the breaking down as I can, up
Let
front.
me give you an example.
For that exact reason.
Give me an example, Boppy.
Occasionally we will have someone, we have a severe thunderstorm warning in effect. He's toned everything out. He's talking about it. Things are going great. And then we'll have somebody in comments say, what time is it going to hit South Main Street in Mount Pleasant?
Oh, wow. You want specifics like that. Yeah.
We can't.
Well, come on.
Is it going to come a tornado on South Main Street in Mount Pleasant?
Hey, Middle Tennessee electricians, handy women and men, and just those of you needing better commercial LED lighting solutions. Yeah, I know, there's so many of you. I have to tell you, there's another option than just the big orange and blue box stores now. Try j2lighting.com. At j2lighting.com, we have the latest technology in all types of commercial LED lighting, from UFO high bays, drawers, area lights, and shoeboxes, right on down to a slimline wall pack that doesn't look like a fist coming off the wall like most other wall packs do. You get what I'm saying, right? Many of our fixtures are wattage and color temperature selectable, which means you have more control over the brightness and appearance in your dark spaces. Check us out at j2lighting.com for a great local source for your commercial LED lighting ideas, even full color light show dreams. Yeah, totally. That's the letter J and number 2 lighting.com. j2lighting.com. I mean, how good is the technology at this point? Because I would always just pull up the Danielle Breezy, and watch her and she's always really on top of things and everything. She's a chief meteorologist for KRN, I want to say. Because when I had her on a few years ago, and I'm like, hey, you're from WSMV. She goes, KRN. I go, oops. Bad on me. I'm sorry. Oops. Yeah. She hasn't been back on since. I can't imagine why. But that's the thing, is that the specificity and how tactically precise You know, and when this tornado touched down on May 8th, she was like, we got debris, we got this, it's happening right here.
Right.
It's, you know, so-and-so and so-and-so, it's moving towards you, find your safe place. It's like, oh my gosh.
Right.
You know, and it was close to home for us too, even though we were 4 miles away from it. But it's like, you know, okay, this is usually we haven't had this since we moved in.
Right.
You know, that was 06 was the last time when we moved into our house and it was brand new. I came home from work on a Friday, and all of a sudden we had some sort of storm cell come through, and hail came through as well. All of a sudden it sounded like somebody was on the outside of our house with a howitzer firing at it.
Wow.
And I'm like, whoa, my wife, we haven't had children yet. She's pregnant with our first. I'm like, get the dogs together. I guess go into the bathroom. I get bicycle helmets, whatever. And we rushed in there. I'm like, what in the world is going on? So this brand new house we had like thrashed siding because of the hail damage. And apparently a tornado touched down, like I guess within a quarter mile from where we were. And it's right over here somewhere. And it was like, okay, this is real. I've never been in a situation like this. Never had to worry about it in Vegas, never in Connecticut. You know, Connecticut, we'd get some nasty storms occasionally, but everything like this happens in the Midwest. How's this happening here? And I went back to my work and they said, well, welcome to Middle Tennessee.
Yeah.
Right.
Really?
You can get all 4 seasons in 24 hours in Middle Tennessee.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is the first time it's happened like this. Like it was almost like PTSD. I'm like, oh wow.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to kind of instill on people. I was like, this was, about like a 30-year event, because there's not been anything happen like this in the area on that kind of a widespread.
Even the flooding.
Yeah, even the flooding.
It was like spot flooding that happened.
Yeah, there was some flooding going on with the storms, because they weren't moving incredibly fast, but they were all putting down just a lot of precip. Because I mean the center of circulation came right over our house in Sunnyside before it kind of touched down, and it was so.
That's talking about May the 8th.
Yeah, May the 8th.
Because I did what you weren't supposed to do, and I went outside because we were watching, and we could tell that what was coming was going to come between where I live and where he lives. We live about 3.5, 4 miles apart.
Yeah, probably as the crow flies.
Possibly.
Yeah.
So of course I went outside to go and look like you're not supposed to.
Yeah.
And
I did too.
I may or may not have done that as well.
Yeah, I was like, hold on, everybody. Yeah, don't do this. Y'all need to be taking shelter right now, but I'm a professional. So I'm going to go outside real quick.
I have an excuse.
Don't do it. Yeah.
But I can
do as I say, not as I do.
Low-level rotation beginning to form. And I called him and I said, I've got some low-level rotation.
Yeah, so I do too.
You're seeing it visually, visibly.
And it was raining so hard you couldn't see like the cloud base, the area of like where there would have been like a wall cloud or a funnel cloud there at the bottom, but it was rotating kind of so broadly, and so you could just see the things that you couldn't see through moving. And I was like,
And correct me if I'm wrong, but this was very shortly before they actually issued the tornado warning.
No, it was
that we could see the.
It was warned.
Was it already warned?
They were already on it. NWS warned it when it was in Lewis County.
So from where I live and where he lives to where it actually touched down, of course he's watching. We have this software. It was a birthday gift for him too.
Yes, many moons ago.
Where you can take the storm and you can dissect the storm. Okay, you can look inside of it. You can look into it in a 3D kind of mode, and he could see within the software that the tornado has formed. Okay, and I'm pretty sure that just right after we talked about, I called you in about the rotation. We could see it forming to drop down.
Yeah.
So we had a feeling it's going to get on the ground.
Thank God for those people
and that's when you get attention. That's when it becomes real.
Thank for those people that were in that Twister documentary from the 90s. For Dorothy.
Oh yeah.
That wasn't real though, was
it? Not quite. But cool. Funnily enough, what you were talking about with the technology a minute ago, where part of this technology that's rooted that we were using to do the 3Ds and things is actually rooted in the Aegis ballistic missile defense system that the United States Navy deploys on their defense. Yeah, it's defense project, right? So normal weather radar just goes out in a cone, kind of if you imagine like somebody holding up a funnel and just goes around in a circle. Takes a couple minutes just depending on what mode they're running it in to make it all the way around. So, things can happen between the scans, but it's pretty good as far as that goes. But the dual polarization radar is where the the Aegis program stuff comes from. So it takes that the horizontal scan and kind of turns it vertical.
Right.
So we're getting kind of vertical slices of the sky to add with our horizontal slices.
Almost like 2D to 3D.
Pretty much. Yeah,
Okay.
pretty much. And we can take that info and locate to like areas of different, just the intensities of reflectivity that's coming back to the radar, so we can tell what's rain, what may be hail, and then obviously what within a certain distance. I think the NWS has to have it at 100. I think it's got to be under 100 miles by their protocols. I'd have to look that up again, so don't quote me on that, to confirm a tornado debris signature, so where they can actually see the tornado being on the ground, picking up debris, and then throwing it into the air.
Right.
Because that obviously, raindrops come up with a different reflectivity from hailstones, but, a chunk of
Plastic.
metal flying through the air, or plastic or housing material is going to make a way
Is it picking
different.
up dust from the earth and everything and dirt and
It
stuff
can
like that?
actually.
Trees?
So, have you ever hopped on the radar, right before you get out to start your day in the morning, go mow the yard or something, and you see it looks like a big bloom in the radar around Nashville? Birds, fog, bats, migratory stuff, large industrial fires. There was an industrial accident in North Alabama one day about several years ago. I'd have to look. I've got, I think, a screenshot on my phone somewhere of the radar. There's a gigantic, looks like angry tornado right in the middle of Alabama without a storm, and it was measuring the debris coming off of the fire, and like it was some kind of chemical plant or something. It was really nasty, but it was so heavy the radar picked it up.
Which reminds me too, talking about radar and what it's able, the dual pole, what it's capable of picking up. I don't remember what year it is. It's probably been 5 or 6 years ago, maybe a little bit longer. There was a huge fire in Gatlinburg, Tennessee, in the Smoky Mountains.
That was the big wildfire.
Yes,
Yeah.
you can
in
see
2020?
it on the dual pole radar.
Really?
The smoke from the fire.
Well,
Yes.
putting off a lot of heat too.
China spy balloon that got shot down. You could see it get nuked over Michigan or whichever that one was.
South Carolina.
That's where,
Oh, really? Really? Are you kind of in the conspiratorial mindset?
I do.
Giving you my Larry David.
But yeah, it's a conspiracy theory until it gets proven right.
Right. A lot of conspiracy theories and theorists are being validated these days.
Right,
yes, they are.
I'm heavily into world news and what's called OSINT, open source intelligence information and stuff. So I follow. If there's somebody shooting at somebody in the world, I'm probably following it.
So let me ask you this, because a lot of people were talking about the events and the storms of May 8th being HARP.
Yeah.
No?
People standing too close to their microwave watching food cook.
I mean, I wear, a tinfoil hat from time to time. So
this is the way I always phrase that one when I get into it, and I have to wade into that one and climate change carefully. Because again, I'm not a meteorologist, and I'm darn sure not a climatologist.
Right.
But
I mean, your predictions
We're
have been
just
so
average folks.
average folks.
With
You have a passion for weather, right?
Right, and it's and that goes back into what you said a minute ago about the my chosen moniker. It was never like really about like, hey, that's the guy from the thing, because for the longest time we were never on camera. It was just audio voiceover and stuff like that, because that was never our intention. So I was like, I don't want to use my real name. And I think I did some thinking on this because somebody asked me where it came from. I think it actually originally came from our buddy Devin, because we were riding down the road in the middle of like some monsoon hailstorm. And
I'm sure he was barking out orders.
I was barking out orders. And
you turned into Captain America all of a sudden.
The captain, pretty much. So I'm pretty sure.
Said, aye, Captain. He was telling him, do this, don't do that.
Do that. Yeah, set a course for this.
When you just assume the leadership, you run with it. You just know what to do.
Yeah, and that's what it is. The best I can equate it to. I don't know if you're a fan of like any kind of auto racing or anything, but probably one of the best like really, really go fast like Daytona, Talladega, like restrictor plate track drivers there ever was Dale Earnhardt, and he swore that he could see the air. Air's just essentially a real fancy fluid. And that people are like, how do you do that? And I'm like, just once you understand what air does to a storm, and what if you can kind of get an idea of what it's been doing, it's like watching a marble roll across glass. It's going to keep doing the same thing in the same kind of consistent manner. You just got to figure out the winds and the waves.
Right.
That's in a nutshell.
That's your methodology.
That's the methodology. And sometimes I'll go through and explain that. When we're doing like our late night shows on, hey, it's going to storm on Tuesday, and this is the update. Mm-hmm. We'll go in and I'll just literally just kind of talk out loud, think out loud, go from given the like the radar overlay or whatever, just to literally going in and screen sharing on my desktop there and rolling through the models, rolling through all of the forecast discussions and all the like big time $20 word weather nerdery from the NWS, and just explaining what I think. This is how I kind of make up my mind. We did it a lot during the snow, because snow is the most gigantic thing to pain in the butt wise to forecast than anything. I would rather deal with tornadoes all day than snow.
Really?
Just because of where we live and how all that warm and cold and all that interacts. That's why we usually get ice instead of snow. And it's
everybody gets excited and wants to know again exactly what time is the first snowflake going to fall
and how much. Yeah.
South Main Street in Mount Pleasant. I keep talking about that for some reason.
Are we going to have school next week? So it's
hard to tell.
But it's
well, the mere talk of a snowstorm cancels school.
Freaks everybody out. And the milk and bread aisle will be just decimated.
That's right. So, a lot of French toast.
Lots of French toast
for these types of times.
Lots and lots.
Yeah. So that's your methodology. That's how you get so accurate. It's just your ability to see the flow of air. And I mean, but the thing is that you're 5, 6, 7 days out and being able to call this with the accuracy that you have. I mean, it's just kind of like a nuanced talent that you just have always tapped into and knew about since you were a kid.
I don't think so.
We spend a lot of time looking at models.
And that's what I was about to say. Weather. Yeah, I've got a curious and just kind of untrusting, discerning mind by nature. It helped me out in law enforcement, obviously. But
you need to have one of those?
We go and look at as many models as we can get our hands on.
Right.
This and that and this and that. Compare the similarities, compare the differences. Try to just develop a plan A, I think this may happen, or a B or a C or something, and just lay that out. And
at the same time, we're looking at the NWS and what they're talking about and what they think is going to happen.
For sure.
But we tend to not want to say anything or do anything until about 48 hours out.
Right.
Because you have a better grasp of what's going to
that's when all the short-term models come into play.
Right. And that's the thing is that, you look at, I think there was one year, it might have been in the like 06, 07, it might have been 06 actually, because we're still kind of really sensitive to what happened to us. And then there was a bunch of the spring storms that happened around here. Mm-hmm. And there was a whole bunch of storms. There was one particular day that I could have sworn I was driving down 65 and I felt my car move, and I thought I saw something started to form in like the field next to like where June Lake is now, where it's being built. I thought there was something that was, because I was just so paranoid about it, and I was on the lookout for everything, because we didn't have the type of coverage back then that we do now.
Absolutely.
And was worried about that. Seeing what on the radar, it was like Memphis was spitting out storm clusters. It was just from that point, that corner of the state. Literally like in Super Mario Brothers, when you got the flower and you could spit fire or throw fire, it looked like that. That kind of consistency, like one after another, after another,
That's
and firing.
Training.
It was right towards our direction.
Storms.
It was just, we were getting hammered.
Yeah, I remember that one. It was. It seemed like there was a couple of rough springs between about like 05, 6, 7, 8, because it was right around the time that I got started. So before we did Weather down in Muletown, I did a page that I started in 08 called Bad Karma Storm Chasing. Same concept, same thing, pretty much, different label. Yeah, that was us. We were
that was more back when he was younger, before marriage and 4 kids, and it's hard to chase storms.
Responsibilities, and soft
God
tissue
bless you, 4 kids.
Damage, and now being in the car for 12 hours a day stinks. So try to avoid that whenever possible. But that was I remember that one pretty good. That was right as when I got started. And
then for a season, it seemed like Murfreesboro was getting hit constantly. Right?
That's one of those stories that it's kind of one of those things you remember what you were doing, when and where. The Good Friday tornado that went through Murfreesboro.
Right.
That's one of those that haunts me.
Right.
We chased it. It was one of those days where they were just coming back to back to back to back to back to back. We chased it coming into Lawrence County from Wayne County, and as it was moving this way, there was a great picture of it producing a funnel cloud over the mall that everybody was freaked out about.
The Columbia Mall.
Yeah. We got the initial tornado warning issued on that. We were the ones spotting it, chasing it or whatever, and actually let the NWS know, like, hey, this thing's producing a funnel cloud at the base. Because the trouble with the National Radar Site, when we're looking down here in southern Middle Tennessee, is the topography. So, like I said, it shoots out in a cone. The bottom of edge of that cone is about 4,500 feet off the ground in Columbia.
Oh, wow.
So everything from nothing to 4,500 feet, we can't see.
Right.
And that's what we rely on public for, spotters, law enforcement, emergency manager, yada, yada.
And that's normally what I'm doing while he's live. I'm looking downstream to see what's forming, what's happening.
coming,
I'm checking for damage reports and relaying everything to him. So that way you get a pretty good handle on what's coming for you.
Right.
But
And that
sometimes
storm
it gets to Maury County and it's like we're down in a bowl and it'll and things just kind of
dissipates.
It dissipated.
Or splits.
Yeah, and that's what this one did. Is it pulsed down right because it looked like it was going to drop a tornado right in the middle of Columbia. Like south side of Columbia, right there around Walmart, James Kimball Boulevard, the mall area, at like noon p.m. or something like that on a Friday, and I'm just the whole time we're behind this thing. With my buddy who's working the phone, working the laptop, doing things like that. We chased it all the way to the edge of Williamson County, right up here in the edge of 840, and it was still pulsing back down. So I had to make one of those captain-y decisions. We turned around because we had more cells coming back into our coverage area because we mainly just did, southern Middle Tennessee at that point. And we headed back to Lawrence County, and then, within 30 minutes, it was, crossed through Williamson County going into the edge of Rutherford and then pulsed right back up just out of nowhere and then dropped that F4 and ended up killing a mother and an infant on I-40. And that one's always stuck with me.
Right.
So,
you do the best you can.
Yeah, you do the best you can. And that's, we posted about that and talked about that with some of the guys that were riding with us that day. And, the decision that we made is the one that made sense. Everything that we had to go on meteorologically at that point, we had warned storms, coming in and approaching from our southwest into our area that we were responsible for. And we had a storm that wasn't really doing anything anymore, leaving our area that we weren't responsible for anymore. So
This area in general just kind of breaks all the mold of the myths that people once knew about tornadic activity.
Absolutely.
Because I went last week to go take some alternative routes. We had to go to Columbia 3 times last week. And on the way back, I was like, well, let me go down Bear Creek and see what the damage is. So on Bear Creek itself, there's one section that's pretty significant damage, if that's about it. But you can see the path of the tornado where it went.
Absolutely.
Right.
And then if you turn off, I can't remember the name of the roads, but you go up the mountains and everything into the hills and hollers, and then there's it's everywhere.
Yes.
And it's really hilly, which just completely blows my mind because that's not supposed to be conducive for tornadoes at all.
Right, yeah. It's always supposed to be flat ground, right? Yeah, out west. There's an area off of Highway 100 in Linden near Tennessee River where there was an EF. I don't even think it was an EF yet. I think it may have just been an F4. It was so long ago in 99, 2000. It was, around in the same time frame where it literally started over here, came up a hill, went down a massive valley, went back up another hill, and you can just, I remember it because you can see it from Highway 100. There's a pretty big bridge right there in the valley, and you can just look and just see where somebody, like you said, just took a vacuum and just sucked every tree or twisted off every tree that was through there, and it just up and down and up and down, and Mother Nature doesn't care.
No.
Our stereotypes, our our myths, our legends, it doesn't care.
I want to talk about something that I thought was pretty amazing when we went out to eastern Maury County and we went up Blackburn Road. About probably the 3rd or 4th house on the right, when the tornado came through, of course, you could definitely see the path and exactly the path that it took, how the trees were laid down, how the trees were stripped of leaves and so forth and so on. There was a home there. It was a basement home, and the south end of the home is the direction from where the tornado was coming. Okay, so it apparently hit the south end of the home, and that is where the kitchen of the home was. When we came through, which I said it was last Sunday, it's been 2-3 weeks since the tornado had hit. And of course, I know people had been cleaning up debris and trees and all this kind of thing. But the whole entire kitchen was exposed. Mm-hmm. The stove was sitting there, and on the top of the stove, you could see the salt and pepper shakers. There was a pan that remained on the stove.
Crazy.
Why was it not blown away? That's the mystery of tornado and the winds and everything that are, because things that I thought should be gone were right there, and I could see them just the way they were when it hit.
I think that's probably the route I took. Yeah.
Probably so.
Because Blackburn turns into Clarimanthus, right?
At some point, I think that it does.
Yeah.
And then back behind this home, kind of down in a valley, was a beautiful, huge log cabin. But it was kind of down in a hole.
Right.
It sustained damage too, but not as much as the homes that were on the upper side of the hill. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
They received the most damage. So I think that log cabin being kind of down in a little valley helped the back side of it helped protect as it was going over. Because just as in front of the log cabin, it's like it was just extreme destruction.
Right.
And it was kind of like it was almost spared or whatever because of how it was situated, talking about topography and that kind of thing or whatever. It was amazing that those small items were still sitting on that stove and the whole side of the house was gone.
That was the last standing vestige of that house.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, it could be incredibly random at times. I mean, I've seen it drive like a tree limb through a concrete curb without breaking the tree limb.
Yeah.
And I've when all this happened, I had just been was trying to put some finishing touches on a research project that I was doing about the April '98 tornado, because I'd gone and got some of the archive radar data from that day, put it into our 2024 computer modeling system, and made some 3D models of that tornado that came through. Because it was only a lot of people don't know this. It was Tennessee's only known F5, and it's known as the forgotten F5 for that exact reason, because it happened a couple hours after Nashville got hit by that F3, and it was, Nashville got all the news coverage, and it was just like, what happened? Nobody knew about the things that were going on down here. So I'd been working on that, and I got a picture from somebody that was a scan of original, like a 35 millimeter print from '98 of a house on, I'd have to look. Because I've got so many notes and so many pictures. I was literally going through all this stuff when May 8th happened. It was a single wide trailer where it was down there near Etheridge, Lawrence County, Culleoka area of
Southern Maury County.
Northern Lawrence. And you could tell there was like about a single wide trailer or so sitting there. Trailer was gone. I mean, not even a scrap of sheet metal still like wrapped up in a tree. The porch was still sitting there.
Wow.
Had like a plank or two, I think, maybe screwed up in it. Still sitting there.
Wow.
Trailer completely gone. Porch.
We actually have, speaking of Eastern Maury County, we bought a piece of property for the business down in that, like where the Hustle factory is.
Right.
And I was like, well, crap. I mean, you look at the pathway the tornado took, it seemed like it headed right towards where our property is. And we have mostly abandoned buildings on the property, one of which we want to destroy anyway. And I was like thinking, well, maybe it did it for us. That would be nice. But I mean, it didn't. But, whatever.
That's a positive, I guess.
Yeah, net positive, I guess. Yeah, just a silver lining, if nothing else.
But I mean, a lot of this, you talked about the news coverage. A tornado in Nashville getting more of the news coverage versus something that's so big. And typically whenever things like this happen, even with severe thunderstorms, my mom's in Florida, my brother's in Michigan, they'll call me, hey, are you okay? We heard about Tennessee. I got nothing like that this time. And it was pretty, I don't know if it made national news coverage or what. Did it?
It did.
Yeah.
Okay.
It did, yeah. I saw some of the footage from the webcam, I think, at CFD 3.
Did you?
Station 3.
And there was some drone footage, too, that made it to Fox News.
Right.
National.
Yeah.
Do you are you a drone pilot as well at all?
I'm not. I'm pretty much any kind of other pilot.
Right.
I do a lot of flight sim stuff just because I've always wanted to fly. I'm just too poor to buy, a $750,000 airplane.
Right.
But I thought about it just for that specific purpose because we ended up sharing some of that same drone footage because it helped illustrate one of the points that we always make. There was a house out there in Eastern Maury County, and literally the only only thing that was still left standing on the entire ground floor was about a 20-foot, maybe square space around an interior closet. Like you could see every other wall in the hall.
Oh, wow.
The home was collapsed, except that place that we tell you to go get if you don't
And
have a
that's
basement.
where they sheltered.
Wow.
That's where they sheltered and they made it.
Yeah, there was some drone video that was shared after the May 8th tornado, and it was kind of like, I understand what they're trying to do. They're showing the damage and everything, but I'm like, you know, the last thing I want to have when I'm going through this traumatic experience and this happened to my house
Something
is
buzzing
some
over your
dude
head.
with a freaking drone.
Yeah.
You know,
And that's not lost on us.
you know, social media content.
Right, yeah, that's not lost on us either. You know, us living here, it doesn't make any difference. You know, I mean, we've been the first people through disaster areas before. Normally, when we would go on big chases back in the day, I would try to throw some things in the back of the truck. A lot of times I would check a chainsaw.
Yeah.
Has nothing to do with storm chasing, but, you know.
Yeah, just where you can help.
Right, you may be the first person on the scene. You know, you may have to dodge power lines, or you may have to, you know, render
Get a tree out of the road.
Right, you may have to get a tree out of the road, or you may have to render aid to somebody. I mean, you never know.
You got to wonder, even with the local news coverage, like we talked about Danielle Breezy, any connection with her at all that you've had in the past?
Just big fans of each other. Every now and then we'll go and hang out on each other's live streams. People will ask questions, tag each other back and forth. She knows we're down in Maury County.
Yeah.
And we attended Severe Weather Awareness Day this year.
Yeah.
They have it every year.
Yeah. We're hopefully working on another little project we talked about with Danielle, too, that hopefully we can.
Oh, good.
Yes. She likes Maury County.
Yeah.
Tell
she
her
does.
that, you know, we got to have her on again. I mean, I keep on reaching. I always comment, I'll hang out on one of her live streams. I'm like, hey, remember good old Jim? You know, and trying to get her. I'd love to get her back on. Because her husband's actually a radio guy.
Yes.
And he
Joe.
works he worked, he's working at the same place I worked. So we didn't work together. But the funny thing is, when I had her on, I said, man, what a perfect last name. And she goes, it's not my real last. I'm like, dude, come on.
It was so perfect.
Yeah, but it was actually his last name that is still a moniker that she happened to just adopt, and it just works for him. So, yeah.
Worked out.
Yeah, it's like my uncle I was telling you about that used to be the anchorman at News Channel 5 years and years ago. That was not his real name either.
Right. Oh, yeah.
But you have to make things presentable for
Yeah. Typically,
aesthetic purposes.
in news, it's the two first name
Yeah.
theory. Hi, I'm Ted David. You know.
Ted David.
Yeah.
Or Wendy Weathers.
Right.
I
Wendy.
always thought if I was a meteorologist and I was in TV and that would be my name. I would be Wendy
Weathers. You could go with it. Yeah. What was that? An anchorman? What was the weatherman's name? You know, it was
Oh, man.
Ron Burgundy.
No,
Ron Burgundy was the
Yeah.
name, the anchor.
Right. But
And
I
was
don't
it-
remember his name in the movie.
And it was hilarious. It was just a funny
Buck
name.
was the sports guy.
Right.
It was Steve Carell, right?
Steve Carell was the
weatherman.
Was he the weatherman?
Can't remember.
I don't know. I'll have to look it
Yeah,
up.
I
he
have
was
to
the
look at it,
anchor.
too.
He was
This is
the
what we
anchor.
mean when conversations meander.
Right.
Sometimes I just get old man brain.
Yeah, it happens.
Getting into the business side of things, you were talking about, you know, Facebook. Is that your main platform that you deploy over? I guess.
Yeah, it is.
We're on YouTube too. Also, so Facebook and YouTube are our two biggies.
Yep. So the two big ones.
when you're
we
doing,
do
what's the audience like on YouTube?
We're
Numbers
just
wise.
over. I think we just started the YouTube channel when we launched doing the live streams last year. Funny story. It came about as one of our followers actually started a GoFundMe for us because my laptop died.
Oh, wow.
So we had a
In the middle of
Tornado.
severe storm and
Yeah.
tornadoes, and our computer died.
had a tornado on the ground, kind of heading roughly towards us, which was kind of the other concerning part. Wife was working that night, and I had all 4 kiddos and 2
me.
dogs.
Bless his heart.
Yeah, and 2 dogs to go get in the basement real quick and trying to do all this, and then my computer gives me the blue screen of death right in the middle of it. So I was just like,
What are you doing?
yeah, what on? And so
Get on your phone.
yeah, that's basically all I could do was just get on my phone. And once I got the vapor lock cleared, after about a good 5 seconds of holy crap, what do I do?
Yeah.
And got the kids and the dogs and everything over there first, and then I literally took a picture of my blue screen of death. Was like, sorry guys, I'm dead in the water right now, but there's a tornado heading at us. So
Wow.
be in your safe place. I'm not going to be of any help for the next, however long, and just had to apologize. And lo and behold, the next couple of days, she comes in telling me about she's heard somebody making a plan to go in and get us a GoFundMe going, get us, a new computer and stuff.
We had several followers that saw the need.
Several, and it was somebody I went to school with. Yeah, Candace Benefield. Yeah, I love her to death
Shout
to this
out.
day.
Yes,
yeah.
Wonderful. They started a GoFundMe. And they wanted permission first to do it, and I was like, I don't know, this is our hobby.
Well, that's the thing, but it's a hobby.
Yeah, we don't want to take everybody's money.
But you are providing, you are providing a service, and that's okay to be funded for it. You know,
it's a labor of love, but it's like we were briefly discussing before we got started. It's it was a hobby, and it just the Facebook pages. It became a way just of streamlining things, because when you have 24 people asking you, hey, what's the weather going to do this weekend? Or you think it's going to snow? It just seemed like the logical thing to do to streamline it. But it's
Cap, and whenever you have an opportunity to do what you love and get paid for it, you get paid for it, pal. I mean, you figure out a way. I mean, there's Patreon. There's all sorts of ways now that people just making donations to it.
Yeah, we've debated on doing a Patreon. I don't really want to. The biggest thing with the Patreon is again to I don't want to say look at us charge people money. I feel like I would want to give something different, and I don't want to change anything that we do on Facebook to only respond on Patreon or something like that.
No. You keep doing what you're doing.
Oh yeah, we're definitely keep doing what we're doing. The biggest thing with Facebook, their monetization parameters are wonky.
Yeah,
we have regular conversations about my disdain for Facebook on Facebook, which is the ironic part. But YouTube is really easygoing. Never had any problems out of them copyright wise. Facebook likes to flag me for the national anthem.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's a long story.
Yeah.
But
it's a whole nother podcast.
Yeah, they've got another little rule that says if you use any kind of repetitious or looping videos, like a radar feed, that they can just go, oh, well, we're not going to monetize you and not tell you exactly why. And if you go in and look at our stats, we've got all the check boxes checked except that one.
And they have every right to do it, unfortunately, because that's a private company.
Yeah, you got it. Yeah, that's
Through
their baby.
the
They can do.
GoFundMe, though, we were so blessed because not only did we get or have the funds raised for us to purchase a new computer, we actually got another one. We were able to set up a studio in his home where we can go live and the green screen and oh man!
Did you get one of these, a Roadcaster by chance?
I don't have one that big. I run most of my stuff just from the OBS interface and from a Stream Deck. I've got one of the, not the small ones, but the medium-sized Stream Decks.
Yeah. You hit the buttons, you fire off. Yep.
Exactly. Yeah. Chroma key setup, the audio setup, and everything. Run lots of monitors, just doing what we do, obviously. With the social media stuff, radar stuff, obviously, and running OBS, that was the biggest thing. And just getting a computer, because I've basically just got a gaming computer to run it, because you're running so many different things at once. You're pulling 3D models, you're streaming, you're recording all of it at the same time.
Lot of functions.
Lots of things at once,
You have to be able to multitask.
Yes.
Well, I'm giving you
That's
permission to
why I'm
ask for
PR.
money. And people will gladly give it to you because you're good at what you do. You're providing a very valuable service. And even monetizing certain, if you say certain phrases that are just kind of verbal crutches, if you will, you could actually coin them and put it on the back of a T-shirt, and that could be a revenue stream. I produce a podcast with a friend of mine, and he wanted to get a T-shirt made up with the podcast image on the front, and that was fun on the back, because after everybody leaves finishes an episode, everybody would say, well, that was fun. And it was just, we never did it. And it's funny because at the time when we did the podcast, we had mugs. And they were really good looking mugs. They had a white outside with the logo on it and a black interior. So we'd put coffee in there. Sometimes we'd put alcohol in there. And then, just have a good, podcast. People wanted those things. And it's just we just needed to figure out how to, get merch. So
sure, yeah, that's something it's on the horizon.
You guys are having these conversations already.
We are.
It's kind of because there's been some. I'm guilty of saying my normal little 3 or 4 things that I overuse all the time, and there's been a couple of suggestions. Made up for some T-shirts or something like that.
Bumper stickers, all that stuff.
Absolutely,
little rubber wristbands.
We've also been blessed. We were asked by one of the local elementary schools. Just so happens his daughter goes to school there. And my grandchildren. They had invited us us to come and do a weather presentation for the kindergarten at the school.
Severe weather safety.
Nice.
It was awesome. So we were able to do that, and we have a little slideshow that we show them and some other things and hands-on stuff. And we have a tornado in a tube to show how they form and how things happen. And
there's so many different avenues.
Yeah, educational outreach stuff as much as we can too. I mean, it's just again to give back.
Yeah.
So,
right. And we were just contacted by the Maury County Health Department here a few weeks ago, too. They're having an event tomorrow that they wanted us to participate in.
Good.
We made little bags and weather-related coloring sheets and crayons and suckers and stickers and, of course, Weather Down in Muletown business card to go in the bag for the parents that will be attending.
Well,
so
I mean, even
we're
like
trying to give back.
You ever see the oval stickers that people have? Like it might say 31A and stuff like that. You could put WDIMT on the back of that and
I think so.
Totally put that. Here's the thing. I understand. I'm detecting like you have like an ickiness about monetizing this kind of thing. Here's where it becomes icky.
Kind of.
Right.
Kind of. I just
if you're just putting it,
I
don't think it's selling out though, pal. I think if you just put that out there as an option, hey, just so we can continue supporting and feeding. This is growing. We need to, a lot of people are starting to follow us now, which means we need more resources, probably need to hire, whatever, kind of comes down the road for this kind of a thing, especially as the spring season ramps up. That's it's okay to ask, public radio and, people funded radio like Way FM and things of that nature. Yeah. They do it every year too. Hey, it's funded by you guys. This is how we stay on the air. It's okay. It's when you cross the line of every time you come on, you're hammering
NPR.
Right. No. Like there are people out there, there are influencers that every time they have FaceTime, they're, hey, I know you want to, but I really want you to go to this website and get this. Typically it's $10,000. Now it's $997, and make sure you go there and blah blah. Yeah. Come on to this free live feed to learn about real estate investing. But really, I'm here to sell you something. That's when it becomes icky. You know what I mean? Yeah. I think ultimately from where I'm sitting, dude, I would, seeing the kind of impact you've had in the community, gladly hand you $50, $100 just for the service. You know what I mean? It's okay.
Yeah, I mean, it does definitely happen, and that's kind of usually what I frame it as. Obviously, whenever it happens, thank you very much. And it's because we do it as a hobby. We always have, but there are some overhead things, and we've got like some subscriptions and stuff like that we cover for weather data and just some incidental stuff. But
and we like to do giveaways too.
And we
pay for those.
Yeah, we go and we'll get weather radios or do like a theme basket, like a fall basket.
We had a fall basket. We had a winter giveaway too. It was awesome. I got to talk about this. We asked people to submit, it was after we had snowfall, to submit photos of how they were experiencing winter and enjoying it and how pretty it was and all this kind of thing. And we got tons of photos.
I bet.
Okay. So we would go through the process of looking at every photo because we wanted to pick one that just really we had a photo. There's a story behind this too. We had a photo submitted by a woman that lives out in eastern Maury County, and I don't know. She had a background as an artist, she had to have had. She did a snow sculpture of a young female that looked like one of the characters out of the Little Women book or whatever.
No,
it was just
it was
stunning.
Like the wood carving on the bow of the ship of like the proverbial flowing haired woman, and I mean it was, you could tell what it was, but it was snow, and I was just like.
So we selected her for
all three
our
of
winter
us,
basket.
they were judging it. All unanimously went that one.
That one. Then as spring came, we decided to do another giveaway of a weather radio. I'm big on weather radios. So we decided to do a giveaway on a weather radio on that one, and we did, and I forget what we had them do now. But anyway, we selected the winner for that. When I went out to eastern Maury County the first time to take the winter basket and meet this follower that we have and her family, I made note of where their home was. Come spring, this just a few months ago, I had to go out to take the weather radio. As it turns out, they live right next door to each other. What are the odds of that happening? And after the tornado that Maury County experienced on May the 8th, after it crossed over I-65. I believe it was at the 47-mile marker. It went in a northeasterly direction and went right where these two people live that I know had two radios.
Oh, yeah.
And I know they were listening to us, and I know that they were alerted by the NWS in time to take shelter.
Yeah.
And that made me feel good that we had done those giveaways, you know? It made me feel good.
Yeah.
So, because
fulfilling.
they sustained lots of damage at both of those properties, but they were safe.
That's good.
Thanks
That's
to
good.
the NWS and getting out those warnings.
Yep. That's what it's all about.
Treat them all like a tornado. That's what we were saying on May the 8th, because we knew we were getting some severe
we knew it was
thunderstorm
gonna be a
warnings
bad
and that
day.
kind of thing. Yeah. But we ask everyone, whatever kind of warning you get today, and we're going to let you know about it. We're going to keep you posted. Treat it like a tornado warning. Just go ahead and take cover. Get in your safe space. Know what you're going to do, where you're going to go, because any of these could spin up at any time.
You know, it's really bad.
And that's what happened.
They tell you to get in a safe space, and my family typically does, but I'm, the dad
Right.
that's going out in the front porch and watching. Yeah. And my kids make fun of me for it because they see the kind of pictures and the memes online and things of that nature. And they were making fun of me and taking pictures from inside the house of me doing that. And then eventually in the next 2 minutes, they were out there with me
That's usually about how it
doing
goes.
exactly the same thing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's just nuts. So,
Mine.
Yeah,
Just,
we do not recommend that you do that. I have done it. He has done it. You have done it.
Right.
We do recommend that you don't do that.
Oh yeah, the official policies. Yeah,
Well, that's the thing. Is like I've always wanted to see it. I've never. I'm like the probability of me seeing a tornado in this area is so high. Still, I've never seen one.
We have both seen one. So.
Yeah.
Or more, one or more.
Usually, everybody is like, "Oh, if I ever saw a tornado, I think I'd like poop my pants or run around, run away and squeal or whatever." And I was like, "No, you won't.
Yeah.
I'll tell you exactly what you do the first time you see a tornado. You'll go."
You're going to be in awe.
And I can
just with
imagine.
your mouth hang open for a second because it's almost hypnotizing.
Yes.
I can imagine that the pictures and video just don't do it justice.
Don't do it justice.
Yeah, because that's just got to be so enormous.
It was
person.
like all of the damage out in eastern Maury County. I had kind of decided in my mind, even after 2 weeks of cleanup, how I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
Once I got out there,
Still surprises you.
it was way worse than I had anticipated.
Same here.
Yeah,
Yes.
and not to make light of it at any at all. That was still kind of like a weak to mid-range EF3. That's not as bad as it gets.
Right. Right.
Absolutely.
Because some of those things that get to be, a mile and a half wide, which is
And
inconceivable.
Every now and then somebody will ask, on the page. Sometimes I try not to usually just be quite as just cold and straight to the point about it on just the comments in the page. But every now and then somebody will ask, on our messenger, they'll message us or email us or whatever and say, hey, I don't have a basement or whatever. We really don't have like a good interior room, and they've all got like windows or hallways or something like that. And, I just got to say, hey, so, just do the best you can sometimes, with what you've got. If you've got an interior room, great, use it. If you've got a basement, great, that's best. With these larger tornadoes, like you said, mile wide, 200 miles an hour, stuff like that, EF3 or less, you're probably going to be okay.
Yeah.
Unless you take just a direct hit from one of these things. But anything above that, you need to be underground.
Yeah.
And that's just
Because, you talk about a mile and a half wide. That's from here to my house in Burtonwood.
Right, yeah. Talking 200 miles an hour, I guess that's Daytona 500 speed.
Right.
You're talking about that's when you're 2x4s.
That's a top speed in Daytona 500.
Oh,
Right?
yeah. That's, And it can get a little worse than that. I want to say not El Reno. Was it El Reno? It's El Reno or one of the Norman, Oklahoma area tornadoes. It may have been Moore, Oklahoma, because it got hit twice.
Yes.
Right.
And Joplin. Joplin.
Yeah,
has had
yeah.
lots of-
It was a 4, I think, though. The max recorded, I think, if again, don't quote me on this, I'd have to look it up. I want to say it was almost 300 miles an hour.
Oh, my God.
In Moore, Oklahoma.
Wow.
Devastated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gone.
Well,
Everything.
where the highest recorded wind speed has ever been?
On Mount.
Yeah, it's probably
Up in
on some
Vermont,
mountain
New
somewhere.
Hampshire.
New Hampshire.
Yeah.
Mount Washington.
There we go. Mount
Yep.
Washington.
212 miles an hour. Highest
Wow.
recorded wind speed.
It's a mighty wind.
Yeah. Well,
On and the peak is only a mile high. We back when I was a kid, because I lived in Connecticut, we'd go up there and see the leaves and stuff like that. And they've got the incline cog railway. That's one way to get to the summit. And then they have the Mount Washington Auto Road that will take you up there. We've done that a few times. That's trippy, really trippy.
I'd like to go do that.
It's really cool. Go in the fall. You know,
I'd like to do the leaf tour.
Have you been up there at all in the Northeast?
Appalachian Trail, I think, would be cool in fall.
New York and anything like that? No. It's good to see once. You know,
I want to go to Ground Zero.
Yeah.
I think we both got that in common, and that's probably about all I would do in New York.
We grew up around that area, my wife and I, for the majority of our, now, I guess still the majority of our lives.
Once I get my Leosa card back.
Yeah. We lived in that area for about 25 years of our lives. We could hop a train and go to the city anytime. I worked in radio, cut my teeth in a station in Brookfield, Connecticut. And at any given time, I'd be sitting there and the sales manager, hey, I got 2 tickets to Les Mis. And I'd call Courtney and, hey, I got 2 tickets to Les. Okay, we're going. She'd just be like, all right, we're going. And, it was so, you took it for granted because you'd hop the train, you got down to Grand Central, grab a slice, and it was amazing, pizza, and go see a show. Sure. And then we moved to Vegas in 01, and 9/11 happened. Yes. Right. We moved in June, 3 months later. My wife flew back in August of 01 to get prepared for our wedding because we were getting married in September in Ridgefield, Connecticut. And I wake up one morning, and we're 3 hours behind. And I would always, my routine, I would get back from doing a workout or an exercise, have my cereal, and I turned the TV, it was CNBC at the time. And I'm like, what? No, why is a Space Needle on fire? I thought it was Seattle, right? And then that, right at that moment, was when the second tower fell. And I'm like, and the commentator.
That's when you know.
I still didn't know what was going on. He goes, and the New York City skyline will forever be changed. I said, what the crap happened?
Yeah. That's when you know it was an on purpose, as I call it.
Yeah.
Because I originally thought when the first plane hit that the pilot may have had some sort of medical emergency. Right. But when that second plane hit.
It was, intentional.
That's when we started watching it. I was in school. I was in 8th grade. And that's right as I think we were doing a PowerPoint or something. And it was on channel 3 or 4, because it was the old school. I had to turn it on for the TVator. And it was just right before the second plane hit. And that's when you knew.
Yeah. And it was, the first thought in my mind was like, I've never even been around those buildings. And now they're gone.
As many times as you had made it into New York City.
Right. Yeah. And looked at them or been in movies or we seen them. And
we saw them from a distance. Every time we'd go to Thanksgiving to see my uncle in New Brunswick, New Jersey, the way you take the New Jersey Turnpike. I don't know if you ever saw the Sopranos at all, the show. I love the Sopranos. The intro to the Sopranos was him. That's the exact route we would take, the New Jersey Turnpike, and you could see the Twin Towers. And even at one point, they would actually merge because of perspective.
Right.
So it looked like one tower, and then it'd start coming apart. And that's what I remember when I was a kid. We did a boat tour when I was probably 12 years old, and there they were at southern tip of Manhattan, and that was it. And then we came back in 2018 to take our kids to show them our old stomping grounds. We went to the museum and Ground Zero.
Yeah, I'd love to go.
It's so enormous. You have no idea the scale of how big that whole area was. Amazing.
Yeah, I can imagine.
So in the next, being that you're such a prognosticator and, kind of got a glass ball, what's going to happen not only with you guys, but with the weather overall next 3, 4, 5 years, you think?
Probably more of the same. Yeah. I wish I could say kind of with any certainty, that far out. This spring, however, to toot our horn just a little bit there, we were watching things.
I'm not a horn tooter. I'm sorry.
I'll toot our horn. Like I said again, it's necessary sometimes. But we were looking at some of the guidance from the the climate prediction center. And like the tropics and things to do with El Nino, La Nina. A lot of times when we have a really active El Nino or La Nina pattern over the winter time, we'll have a nutty spring. And I was like, folks, from what I'm seeing, we've had pretty good El Nino conditions over the winter, and they're saying that this could turn into basically what's like a La Nina watch to where things could pretty get crazy. And then
the NWS is already put out their predictions for the hurricane season, and we're looking at a pretty
hurricane
better
season,
than average active hurricane season.
Oh, really?
Yes.
So it's going to be a bad one this year.
Maybe some of the sea temps are kind of like 05.
Oh, really?
Yeah, those cluster of 4 or 5 storms that came through.
Yeah.
I was in Panama City, I think, as Katrina was rounding the Keys. And I mean, like,
that's when it turned
miles
into
away.
Yeah.
Oh, God, the sea was so rough that day. I mean, it was just like slamming us and washing us off the beach, and it was still 500 miles away. It was crazy.
That is nuts.
That's powerful.
That's right. It's Mother Nature, man.
For sure.
Now, we don't want to forget, we're talking about what we think's going to, or what we think's going to happen, which I don't know.
Yeah,
Really day to day.
Nobody knows.
Anyway, that haven't been said. Past the hurricane season, do you know when the second severe weather season is?
Around here?
Yes.
Well, I know springtime is always pretty bad, but there's always like one before Christmas and that time of year as well. November.
The month of November.
Around,
In this area, we tend to get severe weather again.
Yeah.
And
sometimes, even October to December. Because last year was the first time, last December was the first time there was a tornado emergency issued in Middle Tennessee. Because when they went up towards Franklin, Clarksville last year.
Wow.
So I'm glad we went over all of that then too, and I'm glad we did on our software. The tornado warnings and like confirmed tornado and tornado emergency are all denoted as different colors. And I'm glad we went over all of that right then and there too, because I mean it's going back to May 8th. We had a tornado emergency issued, and to my knowledge, that was the first time it ever happened in Maury County ever. So
I also want to go back a few more years because he was a baby. So I'm going to say this was December of 87. It may have been December of 88. It was actually Christmas Eve.
88.
And it's going to be before you were here in this area. We had gotten a tornado warning in Maury County. Nothing evolved out of it. But by the time it got to Williamson County, it had turned into a tornado and was on the ground. And it got on the ground where Cool Springs Galleria sits right now.
Oh, wow.
They were in the process of building Cool Springs Galleria, so there was some damage and things done. And I just remember that morning I was holding him and looking out the front window, going, looking towards the northwest, and it got that green color that it tends to get when there's hail and all this involved. And so there was a tornado, that touched down right at Cool Springs Galleria. I want to say it was December of 88.
I want to say you're right. It was right around Christmas. It was like December the 26th or 7th or something of 88.
Oh, it was on Christmas Eve morning.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Christmas Eve morning, early, like at 8 a.m. So, and there's some good pictures that we ran across from that too, from when it occurred. So.
Wow.
And it's part of growing up in the South. When you walk outside and it's December and you walk outside to go to work that morning or whatever, and it's 80 degrees, you're like, well, it's gonna storm. It's gonna do something because it's 80 degrees. And
remember the Christmas snowing. A couple of years back? It was 75 degrees. It was so nice.
Yeah, I was outside cooking a turkey.
That's that 4 seasons in one day thing again.
Yes, colloquially and lovingly referred to as like weather Tourette's. You never know. And if you don't like it, just wait 20, 30 minutes, day max, and it'll change.
Because it can be 15 degrees in the morning and then heat up to 80 degrees by 10 a.m. and then change over to snow by 2 p.m. And then at 6 p.m. you have a tornado warning.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how it is in our area. So
my knowledge extends to looking at the radar on my phone, and then I turn it into the temp map. And typically, if you see a line of storms coming through, I'm like, oh, let me look at the temperatures. Usually it's like red and orange on our side, and then like goes to yellow and blue on the other side. Yeah. It's so severe.
Good rule of thumb when you're looking at stuff like that too is when you're looking at the temperature, look at your relative humidity also.
Yeah, that's way above my
And if they're right
grade.
there at the same, it's juicy.
Really
your
juicy.
ingredients are coming together.
Yeah.
Yes.
The milk, the eggs, and the bread are there.
That's the watch.
Right. And then eventually, once it starts forming French toast, that's when it's
the warning.
That's the warning.
There you go.
Means we have French.
So you got a good grasp
Someone has
of this.
spotted French toast, and we see French toast on the radar.
But that is, you got to do that with the snow.
Yeah.
It's either
snow
French
warnings.
toast or a ballistic missile.
Right.
We don't know which. Let you know in 30 minutes.
Oh, man. Well, thanks you guys for coming out here. This has been wonderful.
Absolutely.
You don't have a website yet, but definitely we're going to put in the details section where you can link to the actual Facebook page and YouTube. I guess. Even at this point, I mean, if you're building a website, you have a URL perhaps?
We don't yet. I've got some ideas what it's going to be. It's going to be pretty standard along the other kind of formats. So YouTube is at WDIMT.
Okay.
Facebook is facebook.com/Muletown Wix, WX.
Muletown Wix.
That's it. Yep.
And I mean, because that would be maybe just in line for just getting a free link tree or something set up where you can point your URL towards the link tree and they got all your links so you can pick your poison. Which is what we do for this podcast, essentially. So if you go to MMTBP.com, it goes to a link tree, you pick your poison, yada, yada, yada. But of course, seek them out. You'll see everything. All the links will be in the description for the podcast episode. Follow them if you're living in the area. Make sure that you subscribe. Turn on, I guess, the notifications, the bell, if you will, especially on YouTube, and all those things, just to be notified when you go live. Because when they go live, it's like, when Danielle Breezy goes live, oh crap, something's happening.
Right.
This is going to be interesting. And definitely, if you're able to reach out and donate what you can to fund you guys, I implore you to please do that. So even though, you won't do it, I'll do it for you.
We got some of those things listed on our bio on our Facebook page too. So Cash App and things like that. So
Nice.
If for those that feel so inclined.
Absolutely.
And I'm just kidding when I say this, but if we get, big, huge funds, we'd love to go see Jim Cantori and hear Thunder Snow. I've heard Thunder Snow one time. He has not.
Yeah. You know what?
So Jim Cantori shows up and it's snowing. It's going to thunder snow, probably.
We'll have to, get Danielle Breezy. Maybe this is something we can kind of plan a couple of months out, especially as we lean into the spring. Maybe we do it like first quarter of next year. Yeah. All of us get together. We get Danielle down here. We have a big podcast episode. Yeah, hey, guys, make sure you pay attention to these things and stuff like that. Yeah. And maybe the year after that, we try and get Jim Cantori to come in. You know what I mean?
That would be awesome.
I have a podcast. Use it. You might as well.
Might as well.
Yeah.
That would be awesome.
Because I'm so well known around here.
Well, we thank you for inviting us.
I absolutely. This has been a definite pleasure. It's a fascinating topic for sure.
It is.
It is.
And like I said, we're not meteorologists. Neither one of us have a degree in meteorology. I wish I had sent him to school for meteorology.
Never too late.
Well, that's true. It is never too late.
But I'm not a fan of, I don't like calculus that much.
Right.
We do have a love for the weather, as you can tell.
But
I'm passionate about it. And it's just something that we felt like that we could do through social media to help out our community. Because like I always say, our aim is to keep people safe, informed, and prepared.
Well, here's the thing.
And it's a misunderstood subject.
It is. Confidence comes from the memory of success. Here's the confidence from the public in you guys and what you've been doing is because of the success in your predictions and how accurate you are, how articulate you are, the expertise. Sometimes, yes, is the continued study of meteorology necessary? Absolutely. But at the same time, your passion has driven your education. You're self-propelled, wanting to consume the knowledge, to pass it on to other people.
Right, that's what it's all about.
It doesn't, do you really need the degree if you've got the validity of the public? You know what I mean? Knowledge that confidence is the memory of success. So, I mean, you're due all the accolades, I think. So
we definitely appreciate the kind words.
Absolutely.
And we gained about almost 4,000 followers since May the 8th. And that's good.
Well deserved.
That's 4,000 more ears that can hear to help keep themselves and their families safe.
Exponential growth.
Locality goes a long way.
Yeah. And like we said, we don't really do any advertising. We have not spent a dime.
Right.
So it's all
organic.
word of mouth. Yeah. All organic.
Well, there you go, guys. Check them out. All the links, like I said, will be in the description. And go to www. I can't believe I just said that because that went out by like 1998. But go to MMTBP.com and let us know how we're doing. Share the podcast. Give us a 5-star review. If we're not 5-star worthy, reach out to me. Let me know how we can be before you leave a review. That would be great. And give us a shout out. Share it with your friends, especially an episode like this, which is helpful to our community. MMTBP.com. Mostly Middle Tennessee Business Podcast.com. Guys, thanks for coming on. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.